Hello again. This is Satan's Trilogy. I am the author and the narrator. This is Book 1, Chapter 5, and it will be reading 43. While Tom enjoyed his dinner, Mary went to the bedroom and removed her clothes. The nurse's gown would need to be dry cleaned. Mary was concerned that the beer spilled down her back would stain the material. She placed the uniform neatly folded on a chair by her dresser. All of Mary's nursing uniforms were white, whether she wore a dress or pants outfit. Mary also purchased only high-end cotton blends for comfort and wear. While cost was not important, Mary did discover the high-quality uniforms lasted longer and looked better than the cheaper uniforms from the discount stores. She then removed the holster belt from around her waist and placed the gun under her pillow. Another gun belt, fit tightly against her ankle, was removed and placed in a drawer of her nightstand. Each gun was a small caliber, more easily concealed. The guns were seldom needed, but like a spare tire, when you need it, you are glad it is there. Mary's many years of military training taught her one thing for certain, and it was to be prepared. Mary was an expert shooter and was sufficiently trained in self-defense. However, Mary tried to avoid conflicts. She preferred to help people rather than hurt them. Yet Mary understood there is evil in this world alongside the good. She had witnessed many terrible things in her life and felt certain that only true evil could be responsible for this. Having survived many conflicts, Mary had witnessed unselfish bravery and the willingness to sacrifice for others. With all of the hellish nightmares that Mary had seen, she still believed that good far outweighed evil in the world. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, Mary looked at her face. She was starting to age. Her skin no longer had the freshness of youth. Her green eyes showed a wealth of knowledge that only life's experiences can provide. And her hair was beginning to gray. She felt the gray made her look older than her age. In her mid-30s, Mary still felt young. Nearly every day she would use the treadmill positioned off to the side of her bedroom. Mary enjoyed running on the treadmill, and she preferred doing so to running on the street. This kept it private. The treadmill faced the south window, where she could watch people moving about on the street below. Usually Mary would run 3 miles or more a day, and her time was fast. Mary was fit, but like all of us, she was aging. Mary felt comfortable with her life. She loved her job, had a comfortable home, life with Tom, and she thoroughly enjoyed her obsession with the W.O.W. Mary didn't see her life changing anytime soon, nor did she want it to. After years of watching unimaginable horrors of war, Mary was now in a comfort zone where she could spend the rest of her life. Having showered, Mary tossed on some silk pajamas and snuggled into bed. As was her habit, she turned on the television and set the timer for 60 minutes. Tom had already taken his spot at the corner of the bed. It had been a long day. Mary's favorite channel for bedtime was a late-night talk show, but when she turned to that channel, she found a local news update airing. This is Anna Christian on the street for KRAW News. Tonight, a local restaurant was the scene of a violent robbery. The manager of Noah's Diner was severely beaten before a customer opened fire and stopped the attack by killing the assailant with one gunshot. He then called 911 and stayed with the victim until help arrived. Anna Christian then held the microphone up to the face of a young man. "What's your name?" she asked. "David," he responded. "Can you tell us, David, what happened here tonight?" She again put the microphone in front of the young man. Taking a moment and hesitating, he started to talk. "I was enjoying the best hamburger of my life when this man came into the restaurant and pulled a gun on the manager. The manager's name is Pete. I had just spoken to him a few minutes earlier. He seemed like a really nice person." The young man paused for a moment. The gunman demanded money from the cash register, and when the manager gave him everything from the register, the gunman went crazy. The boy started to flail his arms about, describing how the robber had reacted to the cash given him. The man with the gun tossed the money into Pete's face and told him he wanted the money from the safe. I heard Pete tell him the safe was empty, and that is when the robber started to strike Pete with the gun. The young man was acting out how the gunman was striking Pete with the gun several times on the face. When Pete finally fell to the floor and the man stood over him and started kicking Pete, that is when he had his back to me, and I decided to pull my gun and shoot him. The young boy abruptly stopped talking. Then, on his own, he said, "I'd never shot anyone before. I didn't want to kill this man, but he was really hurting Pete. I had to protect Pete. He's the friend of a wonderful woman that I met tonight. She gave me the money for my dinner. They are both really good people." David stopped talking. A police officer came from behind, grabbed David's arm, and ushered him out. The camera followed the police and the young man. At the police car, the officer handcuffed David and put him into the back seat of the squad car. The camera panned back to Anna Christian. "So that's tonight's story. A crazed robber terrorizes the manager of a late-night diner, and a young customer comes to the rescue. It now appears that the police will make this young man the night's next victim." This is Anna Christian reporting from on the street. Good night. The station gave a short explanation of the late-night news interruption and returned to its regular programming. Mary muted the television and then reached for her cell phone on the end table. She pressed and held the number 6. This was the speed dial for her attorney. "He's on retainer, and the hell with it being late," she thought to herself aloud. "This had better be really important," a voice on the other end said, sounding only half awake and very angry. "Stephen, this is Mary. I need your help." Mary gave Stephen a few seconds to respond. A short pause, and the voice said, "What is it you need, Mary?" The attorney's voice was now softer and expressed genuine concern. "I met a young man earlier tonight. His name is David. I just saw him on the news. He was involved in a shooting at Noah's Diner. He saved Pete's life tonight. Now the police have arrested him. I suspect they are charging him with holding and discharging an illegal firearm. I want you to see that no charges are brought against him." Mary waited for a reply. "I'll take care of this immediately, Mary. Is there anything else that you need?" Stephen waited for a response. "Yes. Don't mention my name to anyone." Mary said goodnight and hung up. She knew that Stephen would be up the rest of the night calling various officials to secure David's release. Mary thought to herself, this was some coincidence. Had I not given the young man some money and mentioned the name of Noah's Diner, Pete would most likely be dead tonight. Mary turned the volume of the television back up and started to fade off to sleep as she listened to the late-night talk show. Some actress was discussing her next movie soon to be released. Almost immediately, Mary was asleep, deep sleep. It had been a long day. The television would soon turn off and the room would be quiet until morning. Tom rested his head onto his crossed paws, and he too fell asleep. All right, that's the end of Chapter 5 in Book 1 of Satan's Trilogy. Until next time, take care. Thanks for viewing.